Imagine being a young boy in the bustling streets of Lahore, with nothing but a bat in hand and dreams larger than the sky above you. This is the story of Saleem Malik, a name that once echoed in cricket stadiums around the world, a name that carried both brilliance and controversy. Born in 1963, in a modest family, Saleem's childhood wasn't wrapped in luxury. The alleys of Lahore became his first cricket academy. That was his first practice nets, and the neighborhood kids his first opponents. He wasn't tall, he wasn't the most muscular, but he had something no one could measure. Hunger to rise, hunger to prove himself, hunger to turn his bat into a weapon of destiny. Cricket in Pakistan during the 1970s and 80s was more than just a sport. It was escape. It was pride. It was the one thing that could transform an ordinary man into a hero. And young Saleem watched those heroes on black and white TV screens, silently whispering to himself, "One day, that will be me." But dreams have a price. Saleem's family struggled financially. Many mornings he walked miles just to reach grounds where he could train. A single bat was often shared for months, patched and taped together after every break. Yet, none of this stopped him. If anything, it made him hungrier. By his teenage years, his timing, elegance, and ability to read bowlers made him stand out. Coaches whispered, "This boy has wrists like magic." Saleem could play strokes that made bowlers shake their heads in disbelief. He wasn't just batting, he was painting strokes across the field. And soon, Lahore's cricket circles began to take notice. His rise was quick, but not without challenges. Politics in selection, fierce competition, and the constant struggle of proving himself meant Saleem had to fight harder than most. But inside him burned a flame that refused to die. The stage was being set. The boy from Lahore's narrow streets was about to step into Pakistan cricket's grand stage. It was 1982. Pakistan cricket was filled with stars, but selectors were hunting for someone different. Someone who could bring stability in the middle order, someone who could absorb pressure and still shine. That someone was Saleem Malik. At just 19 years old, Saleem was handed his debut against Sri Lanka. Nerves were high, the crowd restless, and critics ready to pounce. But Saleem walked in with calmness beyond his years. That day, the cricket world saw something extraordinary. A young boy, with wrists so supple, crafting shots with elegance usually reserved for legends. His debut half-century was not just runs on the board. It was a statement that Pakistan had found a new artist. From that day, Saleem became a permanent name in the team. His batting wasn't brutal like an Inzamam, nor explosive like a Shahid Afridi would later become. Instead, Saleem was pure grace. He played late cuts that kissed the ground like poetry. He threaded drives through covers like an artist painting on a blank canvas. Bowlers hated bowling to him, not because he destroyed them, but because he embarrassed them with elegance. One of his most iconic early innings came against India in 1987. At Eden Gardens, Kolkata. Pakistan was in trouble. Wickets tumbling, the Indian crowd roaring like thunder. But Saleem stood tall. With nerves of steel, he scored a match-winning 72 not out, silencing 100,000 voices. That day, the cricketing world realized Pakistan had a batsman who could not just survive under pressure, but thrive in it. Soon, he was being called Pakistan's crisis man. If the top order collapsed, Saleem was the firefighter. If Pakistan needed someone to anchor, Saleem was the shield. His style wasn't about brute force. It was about timing, patience, and the courage to stand tall when the storm hit hardest. For Pakistan fans, he became a symbol of reliability. A boy from Lahore streets was now carrying the weight of a nation's expectations. Each time he walked onto the pitch, thousands prayed, millions hoped, and the cricket-crazy nation believed. The rise of Saleem Malik wasn't just a breakthrough. It was a promise of what was to come. The young boy had officially become Pakistan cricket's backbone. The 1990s were the golden yet turbulent years of Pakistan cricket. And right in the middle of it stood Saleem Malik, elegant, calm, and often the man Pakistan turned to when everything else seemed to fall apart. His batting record grew like a river carving its way through mountains. Saleem became known not only for his classical batting, but also for his ability to adapt, whether it was the seaming pitches of England, the turning tracks of India, or the bouncy wickets of Australia. Saleem's technique allowed him to stand tall. One of his finest hours came in 1994 at Leeds against England. Pakistan was chasing an impossible target. The pitch was hostile, England's bowlers breathing fire, Yet, Saleem walked in with the same composure he carried since his debut. Ball after ball, he counted, maneuvered, and crafted strokes so precise that even the English commentators whispered in awe. His 237-ball Delapan Puludua wasn't just an innings. It was survival, resistance, and artistry. That knock remains one of the finest examples of temperament in modern cricket. And then there was his ODI brilliance. Saleem was the first Pakistani to score 7,000 runs in one-day internationals, a feat that placed him among the all-time greats. He became Pakistan's middle-order rock, often turning potential collapses into match-winning totals. Fans will never forget his masterclass against India in 1987, his match-saving efforts in Sharjah, and the way he stood firm against the toughest bowlers of his era. From Wasim Akram in practice nets to Shane Warne on the field, bowlers feared him not because he hit sixes into the stands, but because he toyed with their line, their rhythm, their pride. But perhaps Saleem's greatest gift was his timing in pressure moments. When the crowd roared, when wickets tumbled, and when the scoreboard showed doom, Saleem's bat whispered poetry. He didn't play for headlines, he played for survival, for honor, for Pakistan. By the mid-90s, he was one of the senior-most players in the side, guiding youngsters, setting an example, and carrying the nation's trust. His name was etched in record books, his elegance etched in the hearts of millions. But as every hero's journey teaches us, glory never comes without shadows. For all the brilliance he gave to Pakistan cricket, controversy was waiting on the horizon. And when it came, it shook not just Saleem's world, but the faith of an entire nation. Every rise has its shadow. For Saleem Malik, the shadow came in the form of controversy. In the late 1990s, whispers of match-fixing began to circle the cricketing world, and Malik's name, once celebrated with pride, became entangled in scandal. In 2000, he became the first cricketer ever to be handed a life ban for match-fixing. It was a fall as dramatic as his rise. From being Pakistan's middle-order maestro, the nation's reliable artist, he was suddenly painted as a villain. Stadiums that once roared his name now echoed with doubt. Friends distanced, critics sharpened their knives, and a career built over decades crumbled overnight. But here's the truth. Saleem Malik's story is not just about scandal. It is about brilliance, about elegance, and about the cruel reality that even heroes are human. His ban was later lifted by a court, but the damage had already been done. His image remained clouded and his legacy complicated. And yet, when you strip away the noise, when you look at the boy who picked up a broken bat in Lahore streets and transformed it into poetry on the world stage, you cannot deny the greatness of Saleem Malik. He scored over 7,000 ODI runs, nearly 6,000 in tests, and countless memories that still live in the minds of those who saw him play. He inspired a generation of cricketers to believe that grace can be as powerful as brute strength, and that timing can conquer even the fiercest bowler. Saleem Malik's legacy is a lesson that talent can take you to the top, but choices can decide how long you stay there. A lesson that greatness is fragile, and reputation, once broken, is hard to mend. But above all, his journey reminds us of resilience. For every setback, there is a chance to rise again. For every fall, there is a possibility of redemption. And for every boy holding a bat in the streets of Lahore, there is proof that dreams, no matter how impossible, can take you to the world's biggest stage. Saleem Malik's story is not just a cricket story. It's a human story. A story of ambition, triumph, failure, and the eternal hope that the next generation will learn, not just from his brilliance, but from his mistakes.